Hey everyone, today we're going to go ahead and go through a beginner's guide to Jane Austen. These are my Jane Austens here, and we're going to go ahead and help you out with where you should start with Jane Austen. So if you don't know, Jane Austen is a classic author, and all of these books are not related to each other, so you really could start with any of them. They are not a series, okay? So that's just a beginning thought there. So let's start with, if you're not used to older language, if you're not used to older English and that kind of intimidates you, we should start here with Persuasion. It's one of my favorites. It's the shortest and it's also the best paced. So if the old language kind of intimidates you, you should definitely start with Persuasion because the pacing is going to really get you through, okay? So Persuasion is definitely where you should start if you're not really used to the higher language. All right, next is if you're not really into romance. So these are technically all romance novels, but they're not really about that. They're more about the people. But if you're not really into romance, you should be reading Mansfield Park. It is more about the family and their dynamics and the main character, Fanny, than really the romance. The romance is a little bit more of an afterthought at the end. So this one is a really good one if you're not as much into romance genre. Okay. Next one is if you think classics are boring. Honestly, I don't think any of these are boring. You might think that this big, long book might be boring. I think this one I finished the fastest. These are not boring. Definitely Jane Austen will really catch you. But if you think in general classics are boring, you should be reading Pride and Prejudice. This is hilarious. The characters are so funny in this book. So I really think that Pride and Prejudice will catch you. I've seen grown men absolutely adore this book. So yes, this is a very funny book and it's not boring. So if you think classics are boring, start with this one. All right, next is if you think that modern books have better character growth and character studies. I don't really agree with this, but I think that the character growth is a little bit more subtle in some classics, but most classics are more about the characters than the story. So I would pick for you Emma. Emma is all about the character growth of the main character. Also, I have a weird thing where if you're an extrovert, you should read this book. I know a lot of extroverts who love this and a lot of introverts who don't. So if you think that character work in older books are just always worse, you should read Emma because the character work is amazing in this book. Her growth and her journey is fantastically written. All right, next is if you like satire. You can see that I'm rereading this one right now. If you like satire, Northanger Abbey. This is my least favorite, to be honest. I would not start with this one, but if you really like satire, you might want to start with this one. So, yeah, Northanger Abbey. Don't have a ton to say about it, but I'm enjoying it this read through, but it is my least favorite. The last one is if you actually do read classics. First of all, if you do read classics, I can't believe that you haven't read Jane Austen before, but if you are used to classics and you haven't read Jane Austen, then I would start with Sense and Sensibility. It is a lot more the classics way of writing, and the characters are a lot more like a character from the Bronte sisters or something, and the villain is definitely like something from the Bronte sisters. So if you like classics and for some reason haven't read Jane Austen, then definitely pick up Sense and Sensibility. But that's just where you should start with Jane Austen. Honestly, this is a fantastic author and she has the greatest sense of humor and great characters and great stories. So I really would recommend it to anybody, honestly, especially Pride and Prejudice, which is widely considered her best piece of work. But yeah, I I think that's it for today. Pick up Jane Austen if you haven't already, especially those men out there, because I've seen a lot of men recently who read Pride and Prejudice for the first time and really enjoyed it. So I think you're missing out there if you don't pick it up. So yeah, I hope you have a good day. Bye.